Hey guys, in this video I'm just going to be going over how I made this throwing knife target. A lot of it can be made with just some scraps you have around the house. Mostly just use some older 2x4s, had to buy one or two for the longer pieces I needed, but basically just used what I had. And so I started off here breaking down a bunch of stock. You saw me earlier ripping down some old parts of a crate on the table saw, but the first step is just cutting a bunch of pieces. And that's because you want to use the end grain. You're going to get a lot better sticks when you're using the end grain like this, and it's just going to be a more satisfying experience. So once you got all those pieces cut, I just ended up assembling them all, cutting all them up, and smashing them all together, get that thing to be a nice solid block, and it will hold up for a long time. I just use Type-On 2, even though it's not waterproof. I'm going to end up painting this, you'll see later down the line, and so that's going to give it a nice strong, resistant to the weather type of finish. After I got that big block built, I am just building a quick little stand for it. So you can see me here making a bunch of angle cuts, and this is honestly not super necessary, but I wanted to make this a freestanding target so it can be moved around with two people pretty easily around the yard. So you don't need to have it always in the way if you're trying to do other things. And you can see me just assembling these kind of stands, figuring out how I want everything to line up on the ground. Once I had that, I just cut a couple more pieces here, and I'm going to be using these pieces to tie these 2x4s together. This is just some scraps, I think, from an old pallet I had that I broke down. Again, this is kind of just a low budget build you can do for fun, and you'll see me here. I'm just putting a bunch of nails and screws in this thing, and that's honestly overkill, but shout out to my buddy Mitch. We're going to be throwing some pretty heavy duty stuff with this thing, and I think he's got some plans to get some fun like tomahawks and stuff as well, so wanted it to hold up over time. So ended up probably going a little harder than you'd have to, but that's all it is. So here you can see me, the glue's dried up. I'm just giving this a quick sand, rounding over the edges, making sure there's not places water's going to get hung up. That's the one way you might have this deteriorate. A good tip is at Home Depot, sometimes I'll have what's called oops paint. So I got 5 gallons of this paint. You'll see me using it in different projects because it's just so cheap, and it's actually a very high quality exterior paint. Then I got the idea, might make this look a little fancy. Decided to give it a little bit more of a interesting paint job here. You can see me just throwing on a little bit of a target-y kind of look, and that was just with whatever I had laying around. I think it actually came out pretty decent, so for all we were doing, it worked just great. And then this paint color reminded me too much of camo, so I had to go and just give this that little extra touch. Then I brought it over to my buddy's house, and you can see us just assembling it here. It went together pretty quick because everything was pretty much ready to go at this point. We put it together, and I'd say it took all of about 10-15 minutes once we had this structure built. Overall, this project is something you can get done, in a day if you wait and let it dry. Probably did it over 2 days myself, but once we got it all together, it was working really great, and you can see us here having a good time with it. The knives stick great. We are pretty bad at this. It's not something I've ever really done much, but I had a good time doing it, and we spent a couple hours just tossing different knives and weird stuff. He's got this crazy little baton thing that makes quite the impact, and it was a good time. So I'd really recommend, if you want looking for something new, a fun little project, check this out. It was a blast, and if anyone's interested in plans or anything like that, just let me know, and I can get those your way. But the design isn't critical, so however you do it, this is just to give you guys some ideas.